The chrome-plated hull of the diplomatic vessel, Aspiration, gleamed as it approached the crystalline metropolis of Nexus Prime. Through the viewing port, Ambassador Mara Nguyen gazed at the towering structures that seemed to both reflect and absorb the light of the nearby binary stars. 250 years after humanity had first ventured beyond their solar system, the Earth Alliance now encompassed 15 planets across 10 star systems, a modest expansion by galactic standards, but unprecedented in human history. Impressive, isn't it? Deputy Ambassador Dewey Le joined her at the viewport. His formal diplomatic attire, midnight blue with silver trimming representing Earth's night sky, contrasted with Mara's more traditional red and gold ensemble. Impressive, yes. Intimidating. Deliberately so, Mara replied, her eyes never leaving the approaching spires. The Galactic Council has ruled 47 star systems for over 3,000 years. Everything about Nexus Prime is designed to make newcomers feel small. Major Clara Santos approached from the ship's command center, her military uniform bearing the insignia of the Sol Defense Fleet. Security briefing, Ambassador. The Council has arranged an honor guard, but my team has detected unusual energy signatures near the docking bay. They've positioned more security than protocol dictates. Excessive security for a peace summit. Mara raised an eyebrow. Interesting welcome for those they've invited to join their community. Perhaps they're simply being cautious, Dewey suggested, though his tone betrayed his doubt. After all, we're replacing Ambassador Morrison, who had established a rapport with them over the past decade. Mara nodded. Jake Morrison had been Earth's voice in preliminary discussions with the Council for years before his retirement. Now, the responsibility fell to her, a veteran diplomat with 10 years of interplanetary negotiation experience, but new to the grand stage of the Galactic Council. Cautious or suspicious? It doesn't matter, Mara said firmly. We represent humanity's interests. Our objective remains the same: establish peaceful relations, but never at the cost of our dignity or independence. The Aspiration docked with a gentle hiss of equalizing pressure. As the airlock cycled, Mara straightened her posture and mentally prepared herself. This meeting would determine humanity's place among the stars for generations to come. The reception corridor leading to the council chambers was a marvel of alien architecture. Walls of reflective material created distorted mirrors where the human delegation caught glimpses of themselves, smaller, somehow diminished in the curving surfaces. A psychological tactic, Clara whispered. The hall is designed to make visitors feel insignificant. Noted, Mara replied softly. Stay alert, but remember, we're here for peace. Their escort, a tall crystalline being named Vox, led them through a series of increasingly ornate halls. The council awaits in the stellar dome, Vox announced, voice resonating with harmonic undertones impossible for human vocal cords. You will be scanned for weapons before entry. This is standard procedure. Of course, Mara agreed, though she noticed Clara's subtle tension at the scanner mention. The Major had been permitted only a ceremonial sidearm, more symbolic than functional, but even that would need to be surrendered before entering the sacred chambers of galactic governance. The scanner hummed as they passed through, a blue light washing over them from head to toe. Vox seemed satisfied with the results and gestured toward the massive doors ahead, carved from what appeared to be a single piece of material that resembled both metal and stone simultaneously. The human delegation may enter, Vox announced, as the doors parted silently. The stellar dome lived up to its name. Above them stretched a perfect recreation of the galaxy, stars twinkling in their exact positions, with highlighted points indicating council worlds. The chamber itself was arranged in tiered seating, with the most ancient and powerful species occupying golden platforms near the center. Representatives from newer additions to the council sat on silver or bronze tiers, based on their status and tenure. At the very bottom, a simple platform of unadorned gray material waited for the human delegation. "Positioning is everything in diplomacy," Dai murmured, noting their allocated place at the lowest tier. Speaker Zathar, the crystalline representative, who presided over council proceedings, stood at the central podium. Their faceted body captured and refracted light in hypnotic patterns as they addressed the assembly. The council recognizes the human delegation from the Sol system. Ambassador Nguyen, you may approach the reception point to receive the peace proposal. Mara walked forward with measured steps, conscious of hundreds of alien eyes and other sensory organs, focused on her every movement. At the designated point, a hovering device materialized before her, displaying a document in the standard galactic script that Earth's linguists had deciphered decades ago. The Council extends these terms for humanity's integration into our greater community, Zathar announced. Review them at your leisure. We will reconvene in one standard rotation to hear your preliminary response. Mara accepted the document with a diplomatic nod, careful to maintain a neutral expression despite the murmurs and clicks from the assembled representatives. As she returned to her colleagues, she already began scanning the contents. Her heart sank with each line she read. Back in their assigned quarters, luxurious by human standards but modest within the context of Nexus Prime, Mara displayed the document for Clara and Dewey to review. The holographic projection filled the center of the room with glowing text. "This isn't a peace proposal," Clara said bluntly, after reading the first section. "It's a surrender document." Dewey nodded grimly. "The terms are completely one-sided. They're treating us like a conquered civilization, not a potential partner." Mara paced the room, her diplomatic composure slipping as she outlined the most egregious demands. Humanity will be restricted to our current 10-star systems, with no further expansion permitted. All advanced AI systems must be surrendered to the Council's central authority for technological oversight. Our military forces reduced to defensive capabilities only, with no development of long-range missile technology, and a 50% tax on all rare resources including quantum material and ultra-rare elements. "This would cripple our economy and leave us defenseless," Clara said, military training evident in her precise analysis. "The Sol Defense Fleet would become little more than a ceremonial force. They call it peace, but what they're really offering is vassalage," Dewey added, consulting his notes on Council legal precedents. "According to previous cases, once these terms are accepted, they're virtually impossible to renegotiate for at least a century." Mara stopped her pacing and faced her colleagues. "So we have a choice. Sign away humanity's future independence to avoid immediate conflict, or reject these terms and risk becoming enemies of the most powerful political entity in known space." A heavy silence fell over the room as the implications settled in. "What are your orders, Ambassador?" Clara finally asked. Mara looked out the window at the gleaming spires of Nexus Prime. "We prepare our response. We will not accept subjugation in the name of peace, but neither will we be reckless. Dai, draft a counter-proposal that emphasizes mutual respect and genuine partnership. Clara, quietly assess our security situation and evacuation options. I need to know what we're dealing with if negotiations fail." "And if they refuse any counter-proposal?" Dewey asked. Mara's expression hardened. "Then humanity will chart its own course among the stars, with or without the Council's blessing." The first formal meeting with the full Council began with elaborate protocol. Representatives from 47 star systems observed as Mara was invited to address the Assembly from the Speaker's position, a subtle concession that didn't escape her notice. "Honorable members of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's perfect acoustics. "Humanity is grateful for this opportunity to establish formal relations with the greater galactic community. For centuries, we have looked to the stars with hope and wonder, believing that cooperation among diverse civilizations would benefit all." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Some representatives leaned forward with interest, while others, particularly those on the highest golden tiers, maintained impassive postures. However, Mara continued, true cooperation must be built on mutual respect and equality. The terms presented to us reflect neither of these principles. The murmurs grew louder. Speaker Zathar's crystalline form flashed with patterns that suggested displeasure. The human delegation requests open negotiation on terms that would establish a genuine partnership rather than a hierarchical relationship. We believe. The council has existed for 3,200 years, interrupted a representative from the gold tier, a gaseous entity contained within an ornate vessel. Your species has barely mastered interstellar travel. What position are you in to demand equality? Before Mara could respond, another representative, a massive arthropod-like being, clicked its mandibles in what translators rendered as derisive laughter. The human delegation misunderstands their position. They are not here to negotiate, but to accept the Council's generous offer of protection. Dui leaned close to Mara and whispered, legal precedent is on our side. Article 12 of the Council's own charter guarantees the right of refusal before formal submission. Clara, meanwhile, was silently observing the security forces positioned around the chamber, her trained eye noting their positioning and alertness levels. Mara maintained her diplomatic composure. With respect to the Council's ancient wisdom, age alone does not determine the value of contribution. Humanity offers new perspectives, innovative technologies, and a genuine desire for mutual advancement. We ask only for the opportunity to demonstrate our worth as equal partners. Speaker Zathar rose to their full height, light refracting through their crystalline body in complex patterns. The human delegate speaks with admirable confidence. However, the terms offered are consistent with those extended to all developing civilizations. The Council has millennia of experience integrating new species into our galactic community. Perhaps humans require time to appreciate the benefits we offer. We request an adjournment to prepare a formal response document, Mara replied, sensing that further debate would only entrench positions. In the spirit of thorough consideration that befits decisions of this magnitude. After a moment of silent communication among the gold tier members, Star nodded. Granted, the Council will reconvene in one standard day to receive the human delegation's response. In the diplomatic study room allocated to them, Mara and Dui worked meticulously on crafting their response document. The circular chamber, lined with access points to the galactic database, provided them with legal precedents and historical context for similar negotiations. We need to be absolutely clear, Mara said as Dewey refined the wording of a particularly crucial paragraph. We reject any relationship of subservience. We seek partnership or nothing. Dewey nodded, his fingers dancing over the holographic interface. I've emphasized our willingness to establish mutual defense pacts, technology exchanges, and cultural missions, all on equal footing. I've also cited 7 historical precedents where the Council eventually granted equal status to initially subordinate species. Will it be enough? Mara wondered aloud. Legally sound, diplomatically reasonable, Dai replied. But whether they'll accept it. He left the sentence unfinished. Their work was interrupted by Clara's urgent entry. The Major's typically composed features showed tension. We have a situation, she reported, activating a secure holographic display. I've been monitoring Council fleet movements around Nexus Prime. In the past 6 hours, defensive positions have been significantly reinforced. Their battlecruisers are moving into blockade formation. The display showed red indicators representing Council vessels, forming a net around the approaches to Nexus Prime. They're preparing to prevent our departure, Clara concluded. I don't believe their intent is peaceful negotiation anymore, if it ever was. Mara studied the tactical display. Have you informed Earth? Clara nodded. Sent through our quantum channel. It's untraceable by Council technology. Command is concerned. They've reported disruptions to key trade routes in the outer Sol sector. Critical quantum material shipments diverted. Communication relays experiencing technical difficulties. Economic pressure, Dui observed grimly. Classic intimidation tactic. Earth's response? Mara asked. The Security Council has convened an emergency session, Clara replied. Preliminary directive. If diplomacy fails, we are to return immediately to help coordinate defense strategy. Mara gazed out the window at the crystalline city, its beauty now seeming cold and threatening. So the choice becomes clearer. Accept terms that would make us glorified servants, or reject them and prepare for potential conflict with the most powerful force in the galaxy. The people of Earth would never accept subjugation, Dui said quietly. Not after everything we fought for throughout our history. Clara's military pragmatism surfaced. The Sol Defense Fleet is technologically advanced, but vastly outnumbered. If it comes to open conflict, is freedom worth the potential cost? Mara asked, not really expecting an answer. The question weighed on her. Billions of lives potentially affected by her decision. After a moment of heavy silence, Dui spoke. Throughout human history, people have answered that question the same way. Freedom with risk over servitude with safety. Clara nodded. The fleet stands ready, whatever you decide. But they need to know soon. Mara took a deep breath. Finish the document, Dui. Make our position unambiguous. We seek partnership or nothing at all. The tension in the council chamber was palpable when they reconvened. The usual ceremonial opening seemed rushed, perfunctory. Representatives from the various tiers whispered among themselves as Mara and her delegation took their positions. Speaker Zathar addressed the assembly, their crystalline voice resonating throughout the dome. The Council has convened to receive the human response to our generous offer of integration. Ambassador Nguyen, you may present your delegation's position. Mara approached the central podium with the dignified bearing that had made her reputation as Earth's premier diplomat. She placed their formal response on the display platform, where it was immediately scanned and distributed to all representatives. Honorable Speaker, esteemed Council members, she began. The human delegation has carefully considered your proposal. We recognize the Council's long history and significant achievements in maintaining galactic stability. However, we cannot accept terms that would fundamentally compromise humanity's sovereignty and future development. Immediate murmurs of disapproval rippled through the Golden Tier representatives. One particularly ancient member, a being composed of what appeared to be living metal, actually rose in protest. This is unprecedented, the metallic being's translator boomed. A nascent species rejecting the Council's protection? The arrogance is remarkable, even for humans. Speaker Zathar raised a crystalline appendage for silence. Ambassador Nguyen, perhaps you misunderstand the nature of this assembly. The terms offered are not subject to negotiation in the manner you seem to expect. With respect, Speaker Zathar, Mara replied evenly. Article 12 of the Council's founding charter explicitly guarantees the right of any species to refuse terms before formal submission. We are exercising that right. Another representative, a gas giant species floating in a containment field, moved forward. The human cites our laws against us. Tell me, Ambassador, are you prepared for the consequences of rejection? Your trading partners will find it difficult to maintain relations with non-Council worlds. Dui whispered urgently to Mara. They're threatening economic sanctions. Standard intimidation tactic. Mara nodded slightly before addressing the assembly again. The human delegation understands the potential consequences of our position. Nevertheless, we cannot accept terms that would reduce humanity to vassalage. Our counter-proposal offers a framework for genuine partnership that would benefit all parties. You have 24 standard hours to reconsider, Zathar announced, light pulsing through their crystalline form in patterns that suggested anger. The Council strongly advises the human delegation to reflect on the realities of their position in the greater galactic community. A representative from one of the lower silver tiers, a reptilian being from the Saurian system, spoke up unexpectedly. Perhaps we should examine the human counter-proposal before dismissing it entirely. Innovation often comes from unexpected sources. This caused evident surprise among the Golden Tier members. Such deviation from the traditional hierarchy was unusual. "The Council has spoken," Star replied firmly. 24 hours. This session is adjourned." As they left the chamber, Clara moved close to Mara. "Security posture has escalated. They've doubled the guards on our quarters and the docking bay. The aspiration is effectively blockaded." "Options?" Mara asked tersely. "Limited, but not zero," Clara replied. "I've been mapping alternative routes through the station. If necessary, we could reach the ship, though not without risk." Back in their quarters, a secure communication from Earth awaited them. The holographic projection showed the grim face of the Earth Alliance Security Council chairperson. "Ambassador Nguyen, we've received your reports and observed Council fleet movements. Key supply lines to our outer colonies have been disrupted. We believe this is only the beginning of pressure tactics. The Security Council has voted. If the Galactic Council refuses reasonable negotiation, you are authorized to withdraw from talks and return immediately. We are preparing defensive measures." The message ended, leaving Mara staring at the empty space where it had been. "So that's it," she said quietly. "Earth has made its decision." "Not Earth," Dewey corrected gently. "The decision was always yours, Ambassador. Earth has simply confirmed they'll support whichever path you choose." Mara walked to the window, looking out at the sprawling crystalline metropolis. The beauty of Nexus Prime was undeniable, a testament to what thousands of years of interstellar cooperation could achieve. But at what cost? The gleaming towers suddenly seemed like a prison, built on the subjugation of countless lesser species. "Is freedom worth the risk of conflict?" she asked. Not for the first time. "Are we gambling with billions of lives by refusing their terms?" Clara joined her at the window. "As a military officer, I'm trained to consider the cost of every engagement. But there are some prices too high to pay, even for peace. History won't remember us kindly if we start a war," Mara said. "And history won't remember us at all if we surrender humanity's spirit," Dewey replied. "We'd become just another footnote in the Council's long chronicle of subjugated worlds." Mara turned from the window, her decision crystallizing. "Prepare for departure. When the 24-hour deadline arrives, we'll give them our answer, and then we leave, with or without their blessing." Clara nodded crisply. "I'll make the necessary arrangements. The aspiration will be ready." Through the night cycle, the three worked methodically. Clara coordinated with the ship's security team, establishing contingency routes and emergency protocols. Dewey finalized their formal rejection document, ensuring it adhered perfectly to Council legal precedent while leaving no doubt about humanity's position. Mara recorded a message to be broadcast throughout Council space once they were safely away, explaining humanity's position not just to the Council leadership, but to all beings under their governance. By morning, they were prepared for whatever might come. The Council chamber seemed different when they entered for the final time, tenser, more heavily guarded. Representatives from all tiers watched with unusual intensity as the human delegation took their positions. Speaker Zathar wasted no time on ceremonial openings. "The Council has reconvened to receive the human delegation's reconsidered response to our integration offer. The 24-hour period has elapsed. Ambassador Nguyen, what is humanity's decision?" Mara approached the central podium with measured steps. The weight of billions of lives, present and future generations of humans, rested on her next words. She placed their formal response on the display platform and took a deep breath. "Speaker Zathar, esteemed Council members," she began, her voice steady and clear. The human delegation has carefully considered the Council's terms and our own place in the galactic community. We have concluded that peace should never come at the cost of dignity. Humanity respectfully declines the terms offered. The chamber erupted. Golden Tier representatives rose in outrage. Their various communication methods, from light patterns to pheromone releases, all conveying shock and anger. Silver and Bronze Tier members seemed divided. Some joining the protest, while others remained conspicuously silent. Mara turned to Dui and Clara. "We're leaving." As they moved toward the exit, security forces moved to intercept them. Clara stepped forward, her military training evident in her precise positioning between the security team and the ambassadors. "Stand down," she commanded with surprising authority. "Under Article 17 of Diplomatic Protocol, we have the right to depart following formal rejection of terms." The security team hesitated, looking to the Council leadership for direction. In that moment of confusion, something unexpected happened. The Saurian representative, the reptilian being who had spoken up earlier, stood and announced, "The Saurian conclave supports the human position. Too long have newer species been denied equal standing." This declaration triggered a cascade. A crystalline entity from the Krista system rose. "The Krista Federation seconds this position. The time for change has come." Chaos engulfed the chamber as more representatives broke ranks, declaring support for a more equal council. Security forces were overwhelmed trying to maintain order as delegates physically moved from their assigned tiers, breaking the strict hierarchical arrangement that had defined council proceedings for millennia. "Now," Clara urged, guiding Mara and Dewey toward a side exit while the confusion reigned. "This is our chance." They moved swiftly through the corridors of Nexus Prime, encountering surprisingly little resistance. At several junctions, they even received subtle assistance from staff who appeared to sympathize with the growing rebellion within the Council. When they reached the docking bay, the Aspirations crew was ready, engines primed for immediate departure. As they boarded, alerts blared throughout the station. "Council fleet is mobilizing," the ship's captain reported as they secured for departure. "They're moving to blockade position." "Get us out of here," Mara ordered. "Best speed for the jump point." The Aspiration detached from its berth and accelerated away from Nexus Prime, its engines pushing to maximum safe output. On the tactical display, red indicators representing Council vessels converged on their position. "They'll intercept before we reach the jump point," Clara observed grimly. "Not necessarily," the captain replied. "We've plotted an alternative route through the Nebula Veil." Mara exchanged concerned glances with Dewey. The Nebula Veil was notorious, a region of intense radiation storms and magnetic anomalies that most species avoided. "That's a desperate gambit," Clara said, professional assessment evident in her tone. "The Veil has claimed dozens of ships. Human navigation systems are uniquely suited to its challenges," the captain responded confidently. "We've been mapping safe passages through the Veil for years, quietly. The Council vessels won't follow. Their systems can't handle the interference." "Do it," Mara decided. "And open a channel to Earth as soon as we're clear. They need to prepare for what's coming." The Aspiration changed course, diving toward the swirling clouds of the Nebula Veil. Behind them, Council vessels hesitated, then began breaking off pursuit, rather than risk the dangerous anomaly. As the ship entered the Veil, communication systems crackled with interference. The normal vibration of the engines took on a different quality as they fought against magnetic eddies and radiation waves. "Engineering reports increased stress on the shields," the captain announced. "But we're holding. Estimated transit time, 47 minutes. In the tense quiet of the bridge, Mara finally had a moment to process what had just happened. "We just walked away from the most powerful political entity in known space," she said softly. "And we weren't the only ones," Dewey noted. "Did you see how many representatives stood with us at the end? The Council's unity is fracturing." "That won't make them less dangerous," Clara cautioned. "If anything, They may become more aggressive to reassert control. The ship shuddered as it navigated a particularly intense radiation front. For several nerve-wracking minutes, the bridge crew worked in focused silence, making minute adjustments to their course. Finally, the swirling clouds of the nebula veil began to thin. "Approaching exit point," the captain announced. "Quantum communications should be possible in 3, 2, 1. Channel open to Earth Central Command." The holographic display flickered to life, showing the Earth Alliance Security Council in emergency session. Faces showed visible relief at seeing the delegation safe. "Ambassador Nguyen," the council chair began. "We're relieved to see you've successfully departed. What's the council's response to our position?" "Negative," Mara reported succinctly. "The Galactic Council refused negotiation and attempted to prevent our departure. However, something unexpected happened. Multiple council members publicly broke ranks to support our position. The situation on Nexus Prime is chaotic. And we should expect repercussions?" "Immediately," Clara interjected. "Their fleet was mobilizing as we left. I recommend activating the Sol Defense Fleet and implementing Security Protocol Omega." The Security Council chair nodded grimly. "Already underway. Return to New Sol Station as quickly as possible. We'll need your first-hand assessment to finalize our response strategy." As the communication ended, Mara noticed something on the long-range sensors. "Captain, what are those signatures?" The captain expanded the display, showing several vessels on intercept courses, but not council designs. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer announced. It's from the Saurian battlecruiser Swift Justice." "On screen," Mara ordered. The reptilian face of Delegate Krex appeared. "Ambassador Nguyen, the Saurian conclave stands with humanity. We have long chafed under council restrictions. Your delegation's courage has inspired many. We offer escort to Sol Space and alliance in what is to come." More communications arrived, from Krista, from the Star Wanderers, from half a dozen systems that had maintained silent resentment of council domination for centuries. "It seems we're not alone anymore," Dewey observed, a cautious smile forming. "Respond to all," Mara instructed. "Accept their escort and convey Earth's willingness to discuss formal alliance. The game has changed. What began as humanity standing alone has become something much larger." As the aspiration continued its journey homeward, now flanked by vessels from multiple systems, Mara allowed herself a moment of hope. The path ahead would not be easy, but humanity would not walk it alone. On Earth, preparations for potential conflict accelerated. The Sol Defense Fleet moved to high alert status, deploying vessels to protect key installations and colonies. Emergency production of quantum-enhanced weaponry ramped up, drawing on reserves of ultra-rare materials that had, fortunately, been stockpiled in anticipation of eventual confrontation with the Council. When the aspiration and its diverse escort arrived at New Sol Station, humanity's largest orbital facility, they were greeted by a formation of Earth's most advanced warships. The message was clear: humanity would not be easily intimidated. Major Clara Santos immediately joined Sol Defense Fleet Command, implementing the defense strategies she had been developing for years. "The Council's primary advantage is numbers," she explained during a high-level briefing. "Their technology is advanced but stagnant. They haven't faced a serious challenge in centuries. We need to leverage our innovations." She highlighted a particular development. Dr. Hanjay's vortex beam technology is ready for deployment. Initial tests show it can disrupt Council shield harmonics with minimal power expenditure. We've installed prototypes on our frontline defenders. Meanwhile, Dewey coordinated with representatives from Krista and Saurian territories to establish a formal military-scientific alliance. "Each of our species has developed technologies and strategies the Council discouraged," he noted during negotiations. "Together, we represent a formidable knowledge base." The crystalline ambassador from Krista, Senator Crystalia, proved particularly valuable. My species specializes in quantum communications, she explained, her translucent body shimmering as she spoke. We can establish an untraceable network for coordinating our combined forces, something the Council cannot monitor or disrupt. Mara found herself at the center of rapidly expanding diplomatic initiatives. Species that had never formally contacted humanity now sent representatives to New Sol Station, seeking to join what was being called the Free Alliance. The Council's structure has created resentment for centuries, explained an ambassador from the gas giant dwelling Eroans. Many species have sought an alternative. Your delegation's defiance has provided the catalyst. 17 days after the human delegation's departure from Nexus Prime, the first direct response from the Galactic Council arrived. A massive Council battlecruiser emerged at the edge of Sol System, broadcasting a message to all worlds. The rebellion against Council authority is unlawful and dangerous. Speaker's Thar's translated voice declared, all species are ordered to cease cooperation with human authorities immediately. Those who comply will be shown leniency. Those who persist will face consequences alongside humanity. The message concluded with a demonstration of force, the battlecruiser unleashing a barrage that destroyed an uninhabited monitoring station at the system's edge. Earth's response was immediate. A squadron of Sol defense vessels moved to intercept the Council battlecruiser, deploying Dr. Han's vortex beam technology for the first time in actual combat. The results exceeded expectations. The Council vessel's shields collapsed under the focused disruption, forcing it to retreat before suffering catastrophic damage. First blood to humanity, Clara reported during the emergency session that followed. But this was merely a probe of our defenses. The main Council fleet will be more cautious and more numerous. How long until they arrive in force? Asked the Security Council chair. Based on known Council fleet deployments, approximately 11 days, Clara replied. They'll need time to consolidate their forces after the unexpected fracturing of their alliance structure. Mara seized on this information. Then, we have 11 days to strengthen our own alliance and prepare our response. This isn't just about military readiness. We need to control the narrative across all Council space. With Senator Crystalia's assistance, Mara recorded a message that would be broadcast through the quantum communication network to every world in Council space. Unlike official Council communications, which were tightly controlled and filtered, this message would reach ordinary citizens directly. People of the galaxy, Mara began, her expression resolute but not hostile. I am Ambassador Maranguyan of Earth. Recently, the human delegation refused to accept terms from the Galactic Council that would have reduced our species to vassalage. In response, the Council has threatened military action against not only humanity, but any world that stands with us. She continued, outlining the restrictive practices of the Council and presenting an alternative vision. We believe in a galaxy where all species are treated with equal respect and dignity, where technological advancement and cultural exchange benefit everyone, not just an elite few, where cooperation replaces subjugation. The message concluded with a direct appeal. To the citizens of Council worlds, ask your representatives why they fear equality. Ask why peaceful cooperation must come at the cost of freedom. And to those representatives themselves, it is not too late to join us in building a better future for all. The response exceeded all expectations. Within days, popular demonstrations erupted on dozens of Council worlds. On some planets, local governments formally withdrew from Council authority. The carefully maintained hierarchy that had defined galactic politics for millennia began to crumble from within. On Nexus Prime itself, the Council convened an emergency session. Of the original 47 systems, only 20 remained fully loyal. Speaker Zathar faced unprecedented challenges to their authority as representatives from even the Silver and Bronze tiers demanded answers. 3,000 years of stability threatened in a matter of days. One delegate accused, "How could your leadership have so gravely misjudged the situation?" Sthar had no satisfactory answer. The assumption that humanity would meekly accept subordinate status, as so many species had before them, had proven catastrophically wrong. Meanwhile, at New Sol Station, the Free Alliance continued to grow. Military vessels from 7 former Council systems now joined the Sol Defense Fleet, training together to counter Council tactics. Scientists from diverse species collaborated on technologies that combined their unique perspectives and biological advantages. Dr. Hanjay worked tirelessly with Saurian engineers to enhance the vortex beam technology, while Krista specialists integrated their quantum communication systems with human interface designs. The resulting hybrid technologies represented innovations that would have been impossible under the Council's restricted research protocols. "This is what they feared," Dewey observed as he and Mara toured a joint research facility. "Not just human independence, but the power of genuine collaboration among equals. It threatens the entire foundation of their authority." When the Council fleet finally arrived at the edge of Sol system, they encountered not just human defenses, but a combined force representing 12 species. Ships of diverse design and capability had formed a defensive perimeter that extended well beyond traditional Sol boundaries. The Council commander transmitted a final ultimatum: surrender the human leadership and disband this illegal alliance, or face the full might of Council enforcement. Clara, now serving as tactical coordinator for the combined fleet, presented the situation to Earth's leadership and the ambassadors of allied species. "They outnumber us approximately 3-2, she explained, highlighting tactical displays. "However, our technological integration gives us advantages they haven't anticipated. Their fleet formations are designed to intimidate through mass and coordination, not to counter innovative tactics." "What do you recommend?" Mara asked. Clara's response was confident. "We don't need to defeat their entire fleet. Just demonstrate that we can inflict unacceptable losses. Their command structure relies on absolute authority. If we can fracture that perception of invincibility, more of their forces will likely defect or withdraw." The decision was unanimous. The Free Alliance would stand its ground. The battle that followed would later be known as the Defense of Sol, the first direct military challenge to Council hegemony in over a millennium. When the Council fleet advanced in their traditional phalanx formation, they expected to overwhelm the defenders through coordinated firepower and numerical advantage. Instead, they encountered an entirely new form of space combat. Alliance vessels used Dr. Hand's vortex beam technology to create disruption points in the Council formation. Crystalline ships phased between normal space and quantum states, appearing within the Council formation to launch precision strikes before disappearing again. Saurian vessels deployed electromagnetic pulses that confused Council targeting systems. Most surprisingly effective were the smallest ships in the Alliance fleet, human-designed interceptors piloted by mixed-species crews. These vessels exploited weaknesses in Council shield configurations that only became apparent when attacked from multiple vectors simultaneously, a tactic that required the diverse perspectives of the Alliance pilots to conceive and execute. After 6 hours of engagement, the Council fleet had lost 27 major vessels without achieving any significant breakthrough in Alliance defenses. For a force accustomed to swift compliance from lesser species, this outcome was unthinkable. The Council fleet commander ordered a withdrawal to regroup, a standard tactic when facing unexpected resistance. But this conventional response proved disastrous for Council authority. The moment the flagship signaled retreat, numerous vessels from the outer formation broke away entirely. Captains and crews who had been wavering in their loyalty saw this moment as confirmation that the Council's power was not absolute after all. By the time the remaining Council vessels regrouped at their fallback position, nearly a third of their original force had either been destroyed or defected to the Alliance. On Nexus Prime, the political fallout was immediate and severe. When news of the battle reached the Council chamber, the fragile coalition still supporting Speaker Zathar's leadership collapsed. Representatives from systems that had remained loyal, out of fear rather than conviction, now openly declared their independence. The Grand Chamber that had housed 3 millennia of galactic governance stood half empty as delegation after delegation formally withdrew from the Council Compact. The Golden Tier, once the exclusive domain of the founding species, now contained more vacant seats than occupied ones. Zathar, facing the ruins of their authority, finally recognized the magnitude of their miscalculation. The assumption that humanity would follow the pattern of previous species, accepting subordination in exchange for security, had not merely been wrong. It had been catastrophically misguided. In a final attempt to salvage something from the collapse, Zathar authorized a private quantum transmission to Ambassador Nguyen at New Sol Station. The message was brief. The Council acknowledges error in approach to human integration. Request diplomatic channel for revised terms. Mara received this communication with the Earth Alliance Security Council and representatives from the Free Alliance species present. The room fell silent as they considered the implications. "They're offering negotiation now?" the Saurian delegate asked incredulously. "After everything that's happened?" "It's not negotiation they're offering," Mara observed. "It's surrender dressed as diplomacy. They've lost the will and the means to enforce their demands." The Krista ambassador's crystalline form shimmered with light patterns that the translators rendered as amused irony. "How quickly the mighty reconsider when their power proves illusory." "How should we respond?" asked the Earth Alliance chair. Mara considered carefully before answering. "We acknowledge receipt of their communication and inform them that the Free Alliance will send a delegation to Nexus Prime, not to receive terms, but to present our own vision for a new galactic compact, one based on equality and genuine cooperation." The response was unanimously approved. 3 weeks later, a delegation representing 15 species, the original Alliance members, plus those who had joined following the Council's defeat, arrived at Nexus Prime. Unlike the human delegation's previous visit, this group was received with none of the psychological intimidation tactics that had once been standard protocol. The distorted mirrors in the reception corridor had been replaced with clear viewports. The security scanners remained inactive. The council chamber itself had been physically transformed. The tiered seating arrangement that had enforced hierarchy for millennia had been dismantled. In its place stood a circular arrangement of identical platforms, symbolizing the equal standing of all participants. Speaker Zathar, still serving as nominal head of what remained of the council, greeted the Alliance delegation with formal politeness that barely concealed their discomfort. "The Council welcomes representatives of the Free Alliance to Nexus Prime. We are prepared to discuss a new framework for galactic cooperation." Mara, now serving as Chief Ambassador for the Alliance, stepped forward. "We appreciate the opportunity to present our vision directly. The new compact we propose is founded on 3 principles: equal standing for all member species, technological cooperation without restriction, and mutual defense against external threats. Over the following days, the framework for a transformed galactic community took shape. The hierarchical structure of the old council was replaced with a representative system where each member world held equal voting power regardless of their species' age or technological development. Research restrictions were lifted, with new protocols establishing ethical guidelines rather than arbitrary limitations based on maintaining power imbalances. Most significantly, the new compact explicitly recognized the right of all sentient species to self-determination, a direct repudiation of the old council's practice of forcing developing civilizations into subordinate roles. On the final day of negotiations, a formal signing ceremony was held in what had once been the exclusive domain of the Golden Tier representatives. Now, ambassadors from 27 worlds, including several that had been founding members of the original council, affixed their signatures or equivalent endorsements to the new compact. Speaker Zathar, representing the remnant of the old order, was the last to approach the document. Their crystalline form had lost much of its luster in recent weeks, reflecting the diminished status of the position they held. 3,000 years of tradition ended, Zthar observed quietly to Mara as they stood side by side. Perhaps it was inevitable. No system lasts forever. The best elements of that tradition will continue, Mara replied. Peaceful cooperation, cultural exchange, mutual protection. These ideals were always worthy. It was only the hierarchy that needed to end. Zthar's crystalline surface flickered with patterns that the translators interpreted as rueful acknowledgement. Our greatest mistake was believing that power, once established, would endure indefinitely. We forgot that every species, no matter how young, carries the same fundamental desire for dignity. With that final exchange, Zthar added their endorsement to the new compact, formally dissolving the Galactic Council and recognizing the legitimacy of its replacement. As the ceremony concluded, Mara found herself standing with Dewey and Clara at a viewport overlooking the crystalline spires of Nexus Prime. The city remained as beautiful as it had been during their first visit. But now, its beauty seemed more accessible, a shared heritage rather than an imposing symbol of unattainable status. When we left Earth, I never imagined it would end like this, Dewey admitted. I thought success would mean securing reasonable terms for humanity alone. I was prepared for conflict, Clara added, but not for transformation on this scale. The galaxy has fundamentally changed in less than 2 months. Mara nodded, watching as vessels from dozens of worlds moved freely through Nexus Prime's formerly restricted airspace. We didn't just secure humanity's freedom. We became the catalyst for something much larger. Every species that chafed under the old restrictions found their voice because we refused to surrender ours. What happens now? Dewey asked. The new compact is signed, but building its institutions will take years. Now comes the hard part, Mara replied. Proving that equality works better than hierarchy. That cooperation among diverse equals produces better outcomes than enforced conformity. Clara gestured toward a group of mixed-species technical teams working on integrating disparate communication systems. Based on what we've seen already, I'd say the evidence is on our side. As the three turned to join the ongoing celebrations, Mara took one last look at the chamber, where empty golden seats stood as silent testimony to the Council's fall. The galaxy's oldest political entity had collapsed not through external conquest, but through its own inflexibility. Its inability to recognize that true stability could never be built on subjugation. The lesson was clear. Power maintained through force or intimidation was inherently fragile. Only authority freely granted through mutual respect could endure. It was a lesson humanity had learned through its own painful history, and now, through their defiance, they had helped the wider galaxy learn it too. The greatest mistake of the Galactic Council had not been underestimating humanity's resolve, but believing that any system of oppression, no matter how ancient or extensive, could stand forever against the universal desire for freedom and dignity. As new alliance ships arrived daily at Nexus Prime, bringing representatives from worlds eager to join the emerging order, that mistake seemed unlikely to be repeated anytime soon.